This is a fan-generated show. If you would like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Good evening. Welcome to the Glazov Gang. Tonight, suppressing natural healing in America. With us this evening and backed by popular demand, Peter Chowka, an investigative reporter. Peter, welcome back to the Glazov Gang.
Thank you, Jamie. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you so much. So look, vital topic to discuss right now, the suppression of natural healing in America. We know that this has been happening for a very long time. It's an interest of mine. But now, especially with COVID-19 and what you're just not allowed to talk about anymore is so crazy. Now, you've covered this area of medical politics for decades. Let you begin.
Well, the suppression of natural healing or innovative healing in America has been a feature of American medicine for pretty much the past century. And now, thanks to COVID-19, with the intertwining of big medicine and big politics, the suppression has reached new levels. Just to start briefly with some history here, and as I try to connect the dots and show that there's nothing new under the sun. In the 1970s, when I began reporting on the politics of medicine and innovative therapies, in particular for cancer, there were systematic efforts to dismiss and even criminalize many of these alternatives. And I looked into many of these methods quite closely. An example I can cite is the work of Dr. Linus Pauling. He was the only person in history to win 2 unshared Nobel Prizes. The first one for his work in physics and chemistry. And he was described as one of the top 20 scientists in the entire history of Western medicine. But late in his career, when he started researching the role of micronutrients, including vitamin C, and how that affected health, he was suddenly attacked as a quack. Now, today, the difference is that not only are innovative alternative therapies being attacked, but even conventional pharmaceutical therapies like hydroxychloroquine, they are dismissed out of hand in that case because President Donald Trump was trying to promote hydroxychloroquine, not only him, but many scientists and doctors, as an effective therapy against COVID-19. Now, early on, I learned to report facts and credible sources. For example, studies in the peer-reviewed medical and scientific literature. And there's information right now in the literature on the potential value and the role of popular and inexpensive nutritional supplements, including zinc, vitamins D and C, and melatonin in the prevention and treatment of COVID-19. But publishing clinical observations in an obscure medical journal is one thing. Getting them adopted in clinical practice is quite another.
Absolutely. There's some kind of, I don't even really know where to start, Peter, just so much derangement. I remember just even a few months back, you just mentioned hydroxychloroquine around several leftists, just around leftists in general. They're just getting really upset. Oh, that really doesn't work. And they just don't know anything about it. They just know nothing about it. And they just completely discounted it. And now all of a sudden with Trump gone, there is a little bit maybe of return to maybe that it might be okay, right? Even though it's still frowned upon.
I think they might be loosening up a bit, but the hydroxychloroquine is a really good example because last August, a group of medical doctors who are in clinical practice, they actually see patients, and they had, I think, scores of years of experience among them, about a dozen. They convened on the steps of the Supreme Court and held a press conference. They call themselves the now I'm spacing out on their name. The doctors were calling attention to the utility of the frontline doctors, of course, the utility of hydroxychloroquine and other therapies which are being dismissed by the powers that be, Fauci et al. And their video of this got millions of views in the first 24 hours and then was immediately taken down by YouTube and virtually every other media that was hosting it. And a number of these doctors had career problems after coming out in public. Several of them were fired. One of them has just been indicted for her alleged role in the January 6th Capitol incursion. And you'd think they were hardcore criminals for citing their clinical experience and studies in the scientific literature. I don't think we've ever seen anything like this, Jamie, where you are dissed and attacked viciously. Your career ended for citing studies that have been published in the peer-reviewed, Medline-indexed scientific literature. It's just unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. Some kind of medical tyranny, which we know existed on many realms for a very long time. And now it's intensifying, accelerating with this whole COVID-19 business. And so, look, which direction can we go in right now? Let's just...
I'd like to pick up on that because the point I'd like to make here, Jamie, based on what you just said, is that there's now like an axis of evil, a triumvirate here. We have the medical industrial complex, which is open against innovation, but it is now combined with this new Stalinist political momentum represented, I'm sorry to say, in my opinion, by President Biden and the people he's putting into power. And the third leg of this axis of evil is social media, big tech, the oligarchs who are controlling and censoring information. So they now have the complete package together to control everything we know, learn, and hear about the reality that's out there, unless you can find it somewhere in the corners of the internet, increasingly threatened with these lockdowns online, or if you have some personal experience with a clinician who's brave enough to be using some of these methods.
Absolutely. Something also, some kind of spiritual war for sure going on here. This is what I would like to say here. Just when I think about this, I think about, let's say, even the way that North Koreans over the years, over the decades, and of course our compassion goes out to them because it's oppressed, suffering people, but just with all the indoctrination, the way that they're just clapping and just looking at their dear leader, right? The way that those North Koreans are marching up and down, you know, with the troops going up and down. We think about the Russian people during the Stalinist era, just, you know, worshiping Stalin. And we think about and, you know, obviously there were dissidents, etc. I'm just saying in terms of the indoctrination. Where I'm going with this is when you have those indoctrinated people in the police state and they're just in euphoria with Stalin or with Mao, you see this today very much in terms of the vaccine. You know, like if you mention vitamin D or if you mention zinc, you know, the leftist sheep are very dismissive. But when you mention the vaccine, and I mean, I would say that a very large proportion of these people don't even know what's in the vaccine and don't care. It's just this secular God for them. And when in the police state, when they worship Stalin and Mao, now there seems to be just this worshiping of this vaccine. Am I correct?
You are. And again, the information that is out there in both the literature and clinical reports about perhaps some dangers of these vaccines is just completely squelched. It's not getting out there. And that doesn't mean that one should dismiss vaccines out of hand. I certainly don't. But I think we need transparency. We need freedom and the full story. And if I could just quickly mention a couple of resources, because the lie is that people who are challenging everything from lockdowns to censorship are only on the conservative right. That's not true at all. One of the best sources I've found on COVID-19, vaccines, Dr. Fauci, et cetera, is the site of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the attorney. And I never thought I would be saying that, but he has this excellent organization called childrenshealthdefense.org. Childrenshealthdefense.org. I can't recommend that highly enough. And the articles there, the analysis are based on the science. They're written by very serious credentialed people. They're not quacks, they're not polemicists, they're not charlatans. And he's getting virtually no attention in the mainstream media either. It's like he and his organization do not exist. Another one is called the Alliance for Natural Health. This is a long-time organization at anh-usa.org. And just today, I got an article from them titled Cleaning Frenzy. Is it a health catastrophe? And it calls attention again, citing the literature, the scientific literature, how the drive to clean and disinfect everything during COVID-19 could actually be dangerous to our health. And these kinds of things need to be heard and discussed and debated before they are put into policy, instead of the way it is now, where some apparatchik or government bureaucrat or medical big medicine person dreams something up, and then we all have to obey without any input from the grassroots and from the science, which they claim to respect and worship.
Peter, why wouldn't CNN and MSNBC have a 1-hour feature on how 99.95% or 99.50%, something like that, it's over 99%, who have had corona have survived it. To have a special on that for an hour, and then to highlight the survival rate and how many people have survived corona and got back to good health. And why wouldn't there be a special on that?
Well, there's the $64 question, because we have seen in the last 4 years in particular, the mainstream media, which CNN and MSNBC are a leading part of, as well as the New York Times, the Washington Post, et cetera, they've gone off the deep end. And, we could debate endlessly how that's happened. I mean, with 2020 hindsight, you can look back and see how the pieces were put together. But I think one problem with the media and journalism today is the people running it have been educated in their craft, in their trade, or in whatever else they studied, in an academia that started 50 or 60 years ago, was infused with Marxism. And so this is what they are. They're really like little Marxists running around, and truth is the last thing on their agenda. And, thank God we still have the internet. And if you really know how to use it, how to search, and how to find information with more accuracy. But how long this will last, I don't know. It was just this week that the Wisconsin Senator Johnson, his hearing that he oversaw in the Senate in December, which had several experts testifying on COVID-19, the official video of that was censored and taken down by YouTube. And he wrote a Wall Street Journal article, op-ed about this 2 days ago. And you just can't even believe what is happening in real time as you see this censoring, the lockdowns. And again, it's all of a piece. And I think the big tech, the oligarchs, the social media, the smartphones, this is the enforcement arm of this Marxist pooch that has taken over our government, I'm sorry to say, and the medical industrial complex. Final thought, the American Medical Association for decades was anti-socialist medicine, socialized medicine. They were holding, forth, no, it's got to remain free. Well, they finally endorsed Medicare for all a few years back, and they are now in the tank too. So you can't even trust your local physician who might be a member of the AMA.
Absolutely. And as I've said before, if Bolshevik thinking hadn't taken over our society, our expression to each other right now throughout all these months would be, hey, stay free, stay free. But instead it's stay safe, And it's, of course, it's Marxist code language, because staying free is much more vital than staying safe. And what I just said is horrifying to say in our culture now, because it's a Marxist indoctrination. Safety is the key code word for them, isn't it?
Absolutely. In all my studies of the politics of medicine over the years, a statement I always remembered is, without freedom, there is no choice. And without choice, there is no freedom. And we are unfortunately very close to realizing the horror, the truth of that statement now. And this in closing, by the way, because I'm really covering the censorship issue too. There was a biotech entrepreneur on Fox News yesterday, or actually this morning, named Vivek Ramaswamy. He has an excellent Twitter. And he predicted that just as big tech and social media are shutting down our freedom to dialogue on Twitter, direct messages are censored, et cetera, YouTube is shutting things down, that soon our direct messages on our own phones, if not our email, will be censored, because we know that Gmail and others can read our email in real time. They make no bones about this. So this is the prediction this man, who is a technology guru, is making, and God help us if that comes to pass.
Absolutely. Very scary times. And when you mention God, definitely a time to lean on our faith during this time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Peter Chowka, pleasure, privilege, and honor to have you here.
As I said, right back at you, Jamie. It's always a distinct pleasure to engage with you, and I'll look forward to it happening again soon, I hope.
Thank you for your battle for the truth and for freedom, Peter.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining the Glazov Gang this evening. We will see you very soon. Good night.